Welcome to the Take a Seat podcast. This is Mario
and Clint.
And thank you for joining us today, tonight, tomorrow, whatever time you're listening to this, washing the dishes, watching your kids, or watching TV, or playing the Xbox, or playing with yourself. Whatever you're doing, thank you for being here regardless.
Okay.
Okay. So, I know these last two episodes, we've kind of been a little bit serious. So, I'm going to lighten the mood with presenting a neutral subject that I think you can kind of go both ways. That is insecurity. Now, obviously the definition of insecurity, something along the lines of you're just not sure of yourself, essentially.
I don't think that's it at all. Hey, Google, what's the definition of insecurity?
Here's the definition of insecurity. Uncertainty or anxiety about oneself. Lack of confidence.
So that's exactly what I said. Thank you. Thank you for proving my point.
Okay, this is the definition that I was thinking, which was number 2. It says the state of being open to danger or threat, lack of protection.
Well, you're a dangerous guy, man. You're a mini,
oh my God.
You're a mini Elvis.
What? Only Elvis?
I guess.
He's not that dangerous.
You're a mini Trump.
That's the way that I thought of insecurity, because like when you're feeling self-conscious about yourself or doubting yourself, it's because of a danger that you're perceiving. So that's why I was thinking of insecurity.
Oh, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah,
that's true. If you get to the root of it, every single time, because I'm perceiving or I'm interpreting or defining danger as a literal life danger, not as a situational danger, like getting rejected by a girl, getting rejected on a loan, whatever the hell it may be.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
But being rejected by a girl is a subconscious process that you feel danger, and you feel like, so let's say that like us as men, like we feel this nervousness within our bodies of approaching the girl, right?
Yeah.
And I think that subconsciously we may not be able to reproduce, and that's a sense of danger.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Almost like an evolutionary type of perspective, where it's like, okay, her rejecting me means that my genes aren't sufficient to be passed on to the future.
Yeah.
And if I don't have my genes passed on to the future, ideally we want to have children and a wife.
Yeah.
Because that provides more security for us. One day we'll be old, won't be able to take care of ourselves, and this is why it's important to raise your children in a way that are going to care for you, so that when you can't care for yourself, you're still safe.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I guess, that would be the natural response. I mean, why you would be scared of getting rejected. But see, for me, I didn't have to think about that. Growing up, like, yes, naturally you're scared of being rejected because you can think of that side of it. I didn't have to think about that because I didn't get a chance to. I was just fat and ugly. So it just was like, whatever, Like, I didn't even get a chance to think about that, but that's a really good point. So the reason I kind of bring this up, I was listening to this podcast. It's called In Godfrey We Trust. I was briefly telling you about it earlier. And Godfrey is this really famous comedian that doesn't have a lot of attention on him, simply because he's really outspoken. So he's a very confident guy in himself. And so he has a co-host on there named Andre. He's an Asian guy. And I think they're both from New York or Connecticut. They're basically neighbors. And so they're two. Godfrey is a genuinely confident guy. Andre is a false confident guy. So he openly says it himself. Like he'll say one thing and then act in another way. Now, I'm not here to talk about Andre. I'm here because I started thinking like, damn, I wonder what I've done in the past, right? They kind of may have come off that way. Like, I wonder if people can sometimes see your insecurity, and based on what they see, they'll determine if you're lying about yourself
Yes.
or not.
Yes.
Whether it doesn't have to be dating, it can just be a simple conversation
Yes.
you're having with somebody.
Definitely.
Why do you say that?
Well, I say that because I typically am reading people whenever I'm talking to them. And it's partially a result of me studying body language and trying to see if they're actually congruent with their facial expressions and body language with their speech.
Yeah.
If their speech matches their body and face movements. And when I see incongruency, I already start to think, you're trying to put on a show or trying to compensate for some sort of lack that you perceive yourself to have.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I see that too. I just never tell anybody.
Yeah, no, because it makes it awkward.
Yeah, it
You're
really
not gonna
does.
call them out, you know?
Yeah.
I usually don't call out somebody unless I feel like I can actually help.
Yeah.
Like, if I feel like me calling them out on this topic isn't going to be, if it's public, I won't call them out, you know?
No.
Because then that's just embarrassing, and then that's not going to be beneficial to them. If anything, it may further embed that insecurity.
Yeah, you don't want that.
But like, if it's one-on-one and I notice something seems like BS, then I may be like, is that really how you feel? Like, do you really feel that way? Like, I did that to somebody yesterday, and I did it in a way that...
Do I know this individual?
Yeah, you do.
Okay.
And I did it in a way that I let them know, basically, like, I think you're lying to me. Can you tell me the truth?
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, I see your face. Like, don't act like I don't see you right now, you know?
Cut the cap.
And they knew what it was. They knew, like, and they smiled afterwards like they had been caught. But it's like
they didn't admit to it?
No, they didn't admit to it.
Wow.
But it's like it is what it is. Like, we both knew. It's not they didn't need to admit to it.
Why?
Because it was understood.
Wouldn't that be kind of not helping them though? Because that would leave the option for them to interpret like,
it's helping them know not to BS me.
But in the same light, like, it could potentially be like, well, okay, I think he caught on, but he didn't address it. So let me continue. Right?
Who didn't address it in this situation?
You.
It's me.
Because you saw the BS, but you didn't say anything about it. How can you actually know that they know you caught on to the BS, but because you didn't call it out, they just kept it going. Therefore, whatever happened after that moment that you both had that realization.
Okay, it takes a certain level of social skills on their part to know that whenever I'm like, okay, and saying it in that tone with this doubtful face.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm saying it, if instead of being like, oh, okay, like, that's like assuring, like, oh, okay, my bad, I was wrong. But I didn't say it like that. I said, okay, with like this concerned doubt face. And it's like, I know this person personally, you know, like we are very familiar with each other, and he should know by now that when he sees and hears, okay, that it's definitely not me believing what he's saying.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. See, well, I'm just saying it for, the audience.
Yeah.
Because I've had that.
Yeah.
Where, one, I was the culprit.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, either they know I'm lying, but they're too scared to say anything, so I'm going to keep going, or they don't know I'm lying. They either think I'm playful or whatever the case may be. So let me keep going.
Yeah. Either way, you were gonna keep going.
Yeah. Either way, but I mean, that was old me. I don't do that anymore.
I got you.
That was centuries ago.
I don't think I think that it's extremely common for women to be able to read those signals on humans in general. But I think that it's far less common for men. Because women have a heightened Well, one, women are natural caretakers. And if you're going to be a good caretaker, you have to, and especially when it comes to like raising children,
Yeah.
when children aren't able to communicate verbally to you, you need to be able to have this heightened sense of understanding of your child to know what they need. So being able to see certain facial expressions or certain body movements of a child is going to let the woman know what her child is in need of.
That's
Whereas
crazy.
men raising children, we can be just bumbling idiots when it comes to raising children.
Or at least
because-
come off that way.
yeah, or
Yeah.
come off that way, like careless or like
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like that's not something that men have evolved to need
At all.
No, whereas like women have evolved in a way to where that's their strength. They can, and this is why like I think it's extremely beneficial in marriage. Like when I buy a vehicle or if I'm buying a house, I want my wife to be there with me. I want her to be that counterbalance because she's going to be. Women read through BS.
They really do.
Sometimes they'll see BS and then talk themselves into the idea, knowing that it's BS.
That's true.
Just because they're hoping that it works out better. But
No, that's not being sexist. Hold on, because
Oh,
we've had some
God,
viewers,
whatever.
we've had some listeners, who listen to this, and though I can see how it comes off that
there's
way,
different strengths. Like women have their strengths, men have their strengths.
which is
It's like-
fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to acknowledge that.
Yeah.
I think it should be a universal acknowledgement. You may not like the acknowledgement,
Yeah.
but it's true. Like
Yeah.
I've never met a woman,
We're different.
though I may disagree with her, whatever the case may be. I may not have a preference for her or dislike her, whatever the case may be. But I knew, generally, most women recognize bullshit, whether it's from a friend, employee, employer.
Yeah.
They can see it, but like you said, they'll buy themselves into the idea because
Yeah.
it's convenient for them to do so.
Yeah.
Like it's convenient to not put up a fight.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I think that men don't really they haven't really one developed it, and I think that men didn't develop it probably because they didn't need it for whatever reason that is, like evolutionary wise from the beginning of time. Whatever problems that we had, we probably solved through violence
Head on.
Yeah, head on. And women, on the other hand, like that was a defense mechanism that they acquired as a form of protection. It's like, okay,
Manipulation.
oh, whatever. But yeah, I think it's a protection. It's like, okay, I see the BS, I can avoid it. Whereas the man, it's like, well, you don't really need to develop it because whenever it appears that you're getting screwed over, it's like, all right, well, now we're fighting. But that's a theory. That's not fact. I don't.
Yeah, no,
I don't know.
these are theories that I think are very close to reality.
Yeah.
But obviously,
I think it's fact that women have a heightened sense of understanding
so.
of body language and
Yeah.
BS. Definitely.
1000%. Sometimes they'll give you that white people smile. Like that, like it's like
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Even if they don't agree with it, they're just like, all right, whatever else.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, now a deeper layer of that insecurity. Where does it root from? Obviously, as humans, male or female, whenever you're faced with adversity and you don't have the character to face it head on, male or female, because I know some women that'll face some shit and not even think about it, because that's just how they grew up.
Yeah.
Where is that rooted from? How you were raised. So,
Oh, we're on a totally different page right now.
really, what
Yeah.
are you thinking?
I think insecurity as a human comes from our physical structure. Like we don't have, like if you look at a alligator, they have plates on their back, right? Which is a defense. Like you can shoot an alligator and certain bullets won't be able to penetrate through their back part, right? And whereas like humans, we stand erect, where all of our vital organs are exposed to danger. So
Yeah.
like our heart, it's not hard to pierce us. We have soft tissue, And the only reason why we're the superior species is because of the size of our brain. So our brain being as big as it is has caused us to have the ability to, one, imagine, and this imagination can cause us to see multiple outcomes before they have actually happened, right? So since we have the ability to see multiple different outcomes, we can plan ahead, and we can plan further in our head than other species in general. So we can also create. We have this creativity that we've been able to use and create tools, and now we're in this world of electronics and technology and are extremely safe. But we used tools and we used our brain in order to work out the problems, because our physical bodies weren't capable of withstanding up against lions and tigers and bears alone. Very few men can go hand-to-hand combat with a lion, or hand-to-paw combat, whatever, and actually win. Very few. We would die if we relied on our physical bodies. So we had to have a greater sense of intelligence to be able to learn, okay, how am I going to trap them, or how am I going to kill them with a tool that I'm going to create through my imagination and bring it to fruition. So I think insecurity stems out of a fear of death or physical harm.
You don't think that the way you were raised, forget the human aspect of it, the way you were raised and how you were conditioned to think or act on insecurity, whether it's situational or just general, right? Just about yourself. Do you think that how you were raised makes a difference in that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, they say that by the age of 4, your personality is fully developed. And by the age of, like, from 1 to 4, or from 0 to 4, however you want to count it, from 0 to 4, you're still collecting data. You're collecting all of this data, and we're internalizing the emotions of our parents or the people that we're around. And that environment, if it's chaotic, we're coming up with defense mechanisms for it that are very primitive and immature, because we are immature. We're not of understanding as infants, right? And as you develop, you come up with different coping mechanisms for this that aren't necessarily beneficial. They'll be beneficial in certain circumstances, at least the circumstances which you were presented. But there's other circumstances that they're going to be terrible for. But I think your the raising and your environment has a huge part to play in how you handle situations.
Whether it's good or bad, actually. Yeah, that's true, because, that reminds me, for a long time, up until a couple of years ago, I fought against this one behavior that just, like, it was bleeding into every aspect of my life, but I could never figure out, like, damn, like, this isn't exactly a good thing to do. So why am I doing it? But I never stopped. It was covering up.
Yeah.
So,
like, you're trying to fill a void?
No. So, okay.
Okay.
I can remember it starting as a kid because I saw it in my parents. So my dad, as much as, differences we may have, I'll remove myself from those emotions I have towards them, and I'll just talk about the situation. All right. So my dad was very aggressive when it came to bills. He wanted to make sure everything was paid, but he never made enough to make sure that what it needed to be taken care of was taken care of. But instead of taking accountability and just, like, work 2-3 jobs to make sure your family is okay, he would just sit with one income, regardless of what it was, because I actually don't remember. But my mom would adapt in accordance to, one, how he behaved on certain days, and whatever bill was coming up, she would treat him a certain way to kind of, like, comfort him, to prepare him for the number that's coming up. Now, if they didn't have the money, she would lie about it. She would tell them, yeah, it's already been taken care of. But in reality, they're neck deep in debt and he doesn't even know about it. Like,
and that was to prevent him from
reacting.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember.
That is not beneficial
at all. You see how destructive that can actually be?
Yeah.
Now, you understand how destructive it actually is, right? Now, imagine raising 3 kids with that destructive mindset.
Yeah.
What is that going to instill in your kids?
Yeah.
That you need to lie all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're going to give bad news, you need to pamper the person so that by the time you give them bad news, they don't react as aggressively as you would.
Right.
But then what happens if they react the way you thought they wouldn't? That completely throws you into disarray.
Yeah.
That's where it was bleeding into my life. Like their behavior was bleeding into my life because I thought covering up was coping. And coping means that everyone else understands, oh, he just coping. Like they understood why I was doing the things I was doing. And that they would give me some sympathy points. Like, oh, they would understand, like, yeah, your parents, da 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 da. Like, I just had this like weird mentality that like everybody did it. Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so
that everybody did it being what?
Cover up.
Oh,
everybody.
Okay.
Whenever somebody would tell me like, no, I'm real, or like they would just be them. They wouldn't even have that conversation. I would always think you're lying about something. You're covering up. Whoever you are now, I'm listening to the conversation. I'm talking to you. Excuse me. We had a Popeye's spicy sandwich.
That was unnecessary.
It was coming up.
Okay.
And they're gonna hear the hiccups. So, I would always think that everybody's covering up, whether I'm dating, whether I'm just friends, teachers, everybody. And I would always look for that layer of like the face. Whatever is the face, I identify it.
When you say face, you mean facade?
Facade.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're lying about, whether it's your demeanor, whether it's your words, what it is, I would actively look for what I thought people were lying about. And then one day, I actually said that to the girl I was dating or not talking to. And I was like, okay, I think we were at Jinya, that ramen place.
Yeah.
And I told her, I think you're lying. I forgot what the context was, but I remember her rebuttal. That's what like made me really like, oh, it's just me. And like, whoa. So she said, no disrespect, she happened to be black.
Okay.
So
I'm so disrespected right now. I feel offended. Anyway, go on.
You're not even black. You're like.
But you know what? Like, that doesn't mean that I can't feel.
Yeah, that's true. No. I'm not
Shut
trying.
up! I'm not even being serious. Go on.
Okay. Well, man, we're gonna post this on the internet, so naturally.
Oh well, whatever.
Yeah. Okay. Look, she had attitude. Forget the color of her skin. Fine.
Right.
She did not receive my comedic statement of what you lying about? Why you lying?
Yeah.
As easily as I thought she would. Granted, this is like second, maybe third date.
Okay.
And she was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why would I need to lie about that? What do you mean? She called me a weirdo and walked out.
Okay, but maybe she was actually lying.
Maybe she was, but that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is like my behavior.
Yeah.
Damn, now I think about it.
Because people that become reactive and like super defensive and want to have like the responsive argument usually is because they're guilty in the situation. I
guess so.
You ever I wish I could give a real life example, but like
you're just too real, that's why.
There's a reason why. Shoot. Okay. I don't know, man, but basically like if somebody was to steal something and you'd be like, you stole that, they'll be like, no, I didn't. They end up getting mad, and then they end up accusing you, or like they end up flipping it, man. Like that's a normal response of guilty people. Like not all people, because some people actually are like, they have consciences and they'll be like, dang, my bad, you're right, sorry, whatever, right? But
that's true.
It's like, I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss the fact that she was lying, or not the fact, but the possibility of her lying.
Yeah, whatever it was she was lying about. I don't even remember the.
But you learned a lesson from it, so it's worth it.
I learned that I was lying. That's what I learned, really. But okay, so then I stopped trying to cover up.
Yeah,
because it was affecting my bank account. No. My bank account was unaffected. My spending tendencies were affected. I stopped thinking I'll get paid next week so I can afford to get down to $10 this week and it'll be fine. That's covering up.
Jeez.
You are setting yourself up because you're completely dismissing the possibility of something can happen. Whatever it happens, whatever it is, you need a pair of shoes, you need to buy a car. I don't know. Whatever the situation is, that's covering up.
And that's why I'm not pro complete optimism. Like if you're truly an optimist, you'll let your bank account get down to $1 because you're optimistic that money's just going to come.
Yeah.
But it's like we have to be able to reason and be realistic as well. Like you can't be entirely optimistic. Being either entirely optimistic or entirely pessimistic is both detrimental to you. Yeah. You have to have a balance.
Yeah, I agree. So even now, I haven't actually financially struggled, knock on wood, in a few years now. Like this behavior was bleeding into my 20s. At the time that you would think most people, or at least the assumption is, or the generalization is, most people try to get their shit together in the 20s. Wrong. Actually, most people don't care enough to get their stuff together in the 20s, I would say. And I think that's an accurate generalization because you think you have all the time in the world. And then that's when I think there's a transitionary period between 27 to 32. That's when people, quote unquote, mature and they're like really settled down.
Actually, you know what's funny? Hold on.
That's hilarious, huh?
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up the scientific research.
While he's doing that, to the people listening, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you.
Male prefrontal cortex development.
According to NIH, the development and maturation of the prefrontal cortex occurs primarily during adolescence and is fully accomplished at the age of 25 years.
Okay, so your prefrontal cortex is responsible for decision making. So here it says the prefrontal cortex occurs primarily during adolescence and is fully accomplished at the age of 25 years. And the age of 25 years is not actually, it's not like on your 25th birthday that day.
Bam,
it's fully, you're fully developed.
Yeah.
Men actually take longer to develop their prefrontal cortex than women. That's why, like, by the age of 25, men actually start growing up. But women, I think it's 21 or 23, their prefrontal cortex finishes their development.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so since it's your decision-making part of your brain, it's almost like you're going through your life with half a brain.
Essentially.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. If you end up getting lucky enough to one of your decisions as a half brain lands you in a very nice spot, that was luck, not necessarily your. I'm assuming. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I'm kind of half brained right now. This cigar is kind of.
I don't know.
I
don't really think that it could be luck. It could be luck, but I mean, there's
circumstance. There you go. Not luck. Circumstance. I think
circumstance, intelligence. I mean, there's teenagers that have a far higher IQ, probably our IQs combined, and they have that type of IQ. And the IQ is one of the measures of IQ is the ability to solve problems. and the speed at which you solve problems. So if these people are able to solve a problem at just, I don't know, a 16th of the speed, that's an advantage that they have over the rest of the population. And all day long we're solving problems. And I think that well, it's statistically true that a higher IQ is your IQ is the greatest predictor of your income. Your IQ.
I never heard about that.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, that's fact. Your IQ is the number one predictor of your income. One of the other predictors of your income is disagreeability. So your ability to say no and your ability to disagree with people. Those type of people tend to get leadership positions, and they move up the dominance hierarchy because a lot of people have difficulty saying no. And the ability to we as humans, we tend to, I mean, if you just think about the archetypal boss, you think of a person that's like, no, you're not going to do that. You think of a person that's creating order. You don't think of this really kind, letting you get away with everything. When you think of the archetypal boss,
That's true.
you think of somebody that's not going to take your crap and is going to confront you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then another predictor of your income, which is, I don't know if it's the third greatest predictor or the second greatest predictor, but it's conscientiousness, which conscientiousness is how hard you work. So there's hyper-productive people that they literally can't sit still, and they're constantly doing something. You want to have a conscientious partner when you get into marriage, which is somebody that's always going to be working, because when you're living with a person, it's like you're having a business. Dishes need to be cleaned, laundry needs to be washed, the house needs to be put in order, things need to be repaired. And you want to have somebody that's always wanting to work. But the problem is that if your partner is more conscientious, oh, Jesus, I didn't anticipate getting into this conversation, but you want to have a partner that's either slightly less conscientious than you because you're hyper conscientious, or slightly more conscientious than you because if they're hyper conscientious, meaning very, very hard working and always have to be on the move, and you're not that conscientious, that means that as soon as the dishes get dirty and you'll be like, oh, I'll wash them later, they're already tripping out on you. It's like, why aren't the dishes done? Because they're thinking they're so the task is the first thing that has to be done. Whatever the task is always the conscientious person's ruler.
Okay.
Like that's what rules their day. They tend to not put things off. They tend to not procrastinate because they're always focusing on the task. And they can also oftentimes seem very rigid and unspontaneous, if that's even a word. But like they don't tend to go with the flow. They're usually planners and stuff like that. So anyway, the whole point of it was just that IQ is the greatest predictor of income.
I don't know. I give pushback on that because I know I would say they're high IQ people that make some really stupid decisions.
Yeah.
To the point where like you can think like you can be much better off if you put your efforts into something that's actually beneficial to you, instead of just like quite literally injuring yourself and putting yourself on crutches.
Yeah. Well, that's why I say predictor.
Okay.
It's a statistical thing, right? It's like not everybody with a 200 IQ is going to be making over $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
But statistically, you're going to have a higher income than somebody that, say, has an average IQ of 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can be a brilliant idiot.
Well, I mean, you can be a brilliant person that's an idiot in terms of social skills. That's something that you see commonly. There's a lot of brilliant people. Like, look at Elon Musk. He's absolutely brilliant, but his social skills are terrible. His public speaking skills are terrible. But yet he'll create rockets and cars and tunnels and chips to be inserted into the brain to heal paralysis.
Advancing humanity.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, okay. Coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because wait, to those listening, we know. We kind of veer off a little bit, so keeping us on a little same topic. Okay. So, are you able to name an instance, whether it's in the past or even recent? Well, I guess that would be past. Sometime in the past, whatever age you may be, where you recognized your insecurity, like me, was affecting your decision making? Because you're a very confident guy now. And to those that don't know you, he's a pretty cool guy. I would say he's a brilliant idiot. But, you know.
So cool. Man,
nah, you're brilliant. Not an idiot. I don't want to say that.
No, but I mean, I can make stupid decisions. I've made plenty of stupid decisions to where it's like, dude, like, you're smarter than that. Why did you make that decision?
Like
you
what?
know? Like dating certain women that I knew going into it wasn't going to be a good outcome. But through whether that be I guess loneliness,
Yeah.
or insecurity. And when I say insecurity, it's like, man, you know what? Let me just give it a try because I don't want to die alone.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a lot of people. It's not just you.
Definitely. But it's like, I knew better, you know? It's like I could clearly see that this was not an investment for me.
Yeah.
That was going to have the return that I hoped for.
Mhm.
And yet I still hoped because I was being optimistic. Like, I would envision the best possible outcome without weighing the negatives because I was afraid of looking at the negatives because it may deter me from pursuing what I wanted to do at that time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, insecurity has played an effect on my decision making, and I mean,
like presently, would you say so?
Oh, I mean, absolutely, dude. Like, I'm not. I think that I'm not making the income that I possibly could be making because of insecurity. Like, the income that I'm making is well off.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of insecurities that have held me back from having a greater income because of fear of taking a certain risk that could possibly lead me to homelessness, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that insecurity is necessary for us.
Why?
Why? Because if you feel no insecurity, then you truly become, you truly put yourself in danger. Like, insecurity prevents you from let's say that I'm 100% confident. I have no insecurities. I'm not going to look both ways before crossing the street because I'm so confident. But I'm a confident fool because I don't have any sort of fear that's going to prevent me from making bad decisions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So insecurity helps us make good decisions that are going to prevent us from dying ultimately.
But it's based on fear.
Well, fear, it can be healthy.
Yeah.
It's trying to find that balance of fear. If you're overly confident, you're going to die. You're going to destroy yourself sooner than what you need to. And if you're overly fearful, you're going to die. Like, there's plenty of confident men that are now in prison or dead because they're reckless. Maybe they're like extreme sports people, or like
Yeah.
like
Oh, that's a good. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
like
a good
they
example.
have so much confidence, but yet they're always putting themselves in dangerous situations.
What was that really popular stunt man from the 50s and 60s? He was known as like the devil of like Las Vegas or something like that.
Yeah, not Daredevil, Jesus.
But he was a daredevil.
Yeah, he was a daredevil,
He is
yeah.
the image, like whatever
Yeah.
his name is. Whoever's listening, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I was about to say Dennis the Menace, no, but that's not a daredevil.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, the point is that I believe he died because even at an older age, he was too confident in his abilities
yeah,
that he actually killed himself in a stunt.
yeah, dude. I mean, confidence is not always overconfidence is not a good thing. And actually, what's funny is the most confident people are bullies psychologically. Bullies have they tend to be narcissists,
Yeah.
and narcissists tend to be confident.
Hmm.
So it's not necessarily a good thing to be super confident, because you tend to lack empathy being extremely confident,
Yeah.
because you're not afraid of consequences, and
Yeah.
you're not going to be you tend to be narcissistic. I mean, that's why I don't. People will say that I'm confident, but I'm fully aware of my limitations. I'm very much a I have a healthy amount of pessimism within me that prevents me from doing what I think I could do.
Are you able to give an example?
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think women is the easiest thing to reach for right now.
Yeah.
And it's like there's women that are so stunningly beautiful that fear will grip me and make me be like, dang, do I want to approach this girl? I want to approach this girl,
Yeah.
but insecurity kicks in, and I either do it trying to battle that so that I either battle that to grow from it
Okay.
with the possibility of succeeding, or even if I fail from it, regardless, I conquered that fear. Or sometimes I'll just completely submit to the fear and go on with my life how it was, you know? But yeah, dude, like, I mean, I'm not 100% confident.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even at work, like there's times where I would like to say something to, let's say, a superior, right, in opposition to them, and that would be the confident thing to do. But I weigh the situation out and say, okay, is this really worth me losing my job over
Just 'cause you
for
have confidence
trying to
in
prove a
yourself.
point? Yeah. And it's like, you know what? A lot of the times it's not. I prefer being employed rather than disagreeing on something with my superior,
Yeah.
you know? And sometimes I will if I feel like it's something that's worth it. But in most situations at work, it's not worth it, because the only times that I think it's actually worth it is when it really impacts people. Like, people are extremely important to me, and the mistreatment of people is not right to me. So that's when I'd be willing to be fired, is if I feel like whatever is about to be implemented is going to be so detrimental to people that it's necessary that I stand up, even if that's to my own detriment. But
That makes sense.
yeah.
I even at the job now where we work, we even though we work in different areas, I think my overconfidence was really because I was at one point not narcissistic, but what's there's another term for being so confident that you just come off away.
Arrogant?
Arrogant.
Yeah.
I was so arrogant I was thinking that I was being confident, but no, you're just being dumb. But because you're so confident in your stupidity, you think it's a smart decision to say certain things, you do certain things.
Yeah.
Chalk it up to ignorance, chalk it up to ego, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely gotten me in situations with my current boss.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're actually in a much better place now.
Mm-hmm.
That aside, the history between us, a lot of it was due to arrogance on my behalf, especially when I first started. Like, well, granted, when I first started, this is 2016. So who I was at that point in time is completely different from who I am now. I would say that I've matured a lot more and have learned when to shut up and when to speak up.
Yeah, agree.
But what you mean agree?
I agree that
I thought you were
grown a lot. Dude.
Oh, okay.
Who you are now versus who you are when I met you is totally different.
No, I agree. It's okay to say, I used to be dumb. It's okay. I get it.
I wouldn't say that you were dumb. I don't think you were ever dumb. I think that you were narcissistic,
Agreed.
self-centered.
Agreed.
Yeah, and had a sense of superiority.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Unnecessarily too.
Yeah.
Because that's when I was struggling financially.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell was it? I had no basis to my personality or narcissism or that entitlement of like, I'm better than you just because I think a certain way.
Well, I think that that's also a defense mechanism because we don't really believe it. So then we hype ourselves up to believe this lie by comparing ourselves to weaker people instead of comparing ourselves to perfection or somebody greater.
Yeah.
Comparing ourselves to people that are stupider or weaker or less attractive as a way of making ourselves feel bigger and better.
Yeah. I would say I was like the Regina George of my own movie, but I had no click. It was just like the entire thing. It was just all me. But I'm glad I went through that because I've had a lot of humbling, extremely humbling things happen to me. They're like, your physical dominance cannot get you out of this situation. Yeah. One of them being story time. Here we go. Put down your dishes. So the year was 2017. And 2017 to 2018. This is during my self-renowned Renaissance era, where I was learning who I am trying to be, right? What does that stand for? Whatever. So I went to San Antonio to visit some family. At that time, I had what you and I know as the Dadmobile. It was a Ford Freestyle. For those, wondering what it is, it's a 2005 Ford Freestyle. You look it up, it belongs to a mom, not a 23-year-old guy, single guy. So, coincidentally, it belonged to my mom, actually. It belonged to my mom. Anyway, so this car had problems. And I knew about these problems, but I didn't want to do anything about it because this is around that time when I was financially constricted. But I was actively going to San Antonio on these trips with like $150 in my bank account, just kind of risking it all just because in the name of, I don't know, a good time, whatever. Anyway, I'm never going to forget this. So I'm leaving Houston, right? And okay, I'm closing my eyes because I literally need to visualize this to remember. So I'm leaving Houston, and it's in the day. I remember I left early from work, and I had my dog Chico, who's a little nightmare, but he's an angel at the same time, with me. And so I was driving on I-10 going to San Antonio, and it was scorching hot. I had the AC on, jamming out to, I think it was Kanye, having a grand old time by myself. And out of nowhere, I felt my steering wheel shaking. I thought I was getting onto like the road bumps, like on the side of the road where like you might be veering off too much, but it wasn't. And so right when I passed Bucky's, right around that area where there's like nothing but warehouses, I decided to stop and I looked at my tire and it was starting to shred.
Wow.
Like there was like little wires, but I remember thinking like, what the hell is this? Because if you actually felt the tread, there was actual like depth there. So it didn't have an alignment, basically, which is necessary to everyone listening. Do not set yourself up like I did.
Wow.
Align your damn wheels. It's not that hard. It's $100. Anyway, so I said, okay, how far can I actually get with this? I miscalculated and I drove about 30 minutes more. Thank God there was a Chevron on the right because I stopped. I did not trust it. And I think they had like somebody that worked at a tire shop, or maybe that was a tire shop, like a Chevron tire shop type of deal.
I've seen those.
And so I stopped and dude, the fucking tire was just like wires everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so in my head, I'm thinking, okay, I have $150. Oh, crap. Used tires, probably $60, $70. I still need gas. Okay, fuck it. So I go up to the Chevron guy and I made the smart decision of, let me get a new tire. Oh, I'm sorry, a new used tire, right? With better tread and all that. But the guy told me, look, now I remember because my arrogance was like, fuck that, whatever. The guy was like, look, even if you get a new used tire, they're not aligned. Your alignment's off. You're going to mess this tire up. Where are you going? Told him San Antonio. He's like, look, legally, I have to tell you not to do this. You need to get an alignment, which at that point, I think that was like $150 or some shit like that. But I couldn't afford it. And so I was like, well, I can't afford it. But do you think I could last this entire trip and then shred it when I'm in Houston? That way, at least my car is in Houston and I can just walk to work because I live down the street from work and down the street from the grocery. So I was listening. I was willing to take that risk knowing that I technically couldn't afford to do it. But I was so arrogant. Like I was too focused on having a good time. I was like, fuck it, let's just do it. I'll be all right, So the guy was like, all right, we changed it out. But he left me my tire, that tire. I guess he thought it was like still usable if you get your car aligned because you won't be shredding the outside now. It'll still be, it'll be balanced and so you'll be fine. So back on the road, jamming onto Kanye West, completely ruining out the actual danger that's going on. And remember, or keep this in mind, imagine a perfectly fine wheel with enough ridges to last you technically like 5, 20, 30,000 miles. I get to Bucky's on the way to San Antonio, get me some of those little puffs that taste like maple syrup, get me some coffee. I'm having a grand old time.
Mm-hmm.
Now look at my tire. My tire was already starting to get worn on that exterior area. It hasn't even been like 300 miles.
This was the new tire.
This is the new tire.
Wow.
Every other tire was fine. But in my head, I'm thinking, it'll be fine. Just get to San Antonio. We'll use their cars or Uber. And I'll just drive back to Houston on Sunday. I'll be fine. Wrong. I get to San Antonio and the tire already has some wires sticking out. Very few, but that's not the point. And so I think I had a conversation with my sisters like, hey, let's use your cars or whatever. And so the weekend passes and Sunday gets here. And so I look at my tire and I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this, And I hadn't really spent a lot of money. All we did was just smoke weed and probably eat. So and stay in. So, we didn't do anything. So I think I had like maybe $100. I fill up with $30 and actually make it home. $70 left over. So I was fine. But before I left, I said, fuck it. Let me just get another spare tire, a really, really cheap one. That way I have the gear to change out my own tires, I can just throw that one in there and bam, I'll ride the little donut all the way home. It's fine. Wrong. So I pull up to the shop in San Antonio and they're like, hey, you've gone through 2 tires now, or 1.5. This is going to get you to Buc-ee's. After that, it's all a gamble. You need to align your car. And I said, well, I can't really afford it. Which I really couldn't, but that's not their problem. Like legally, They have to make sure that they've done their part. And so I told them, no, I can't afford to do it right now. Just give me a donut. And so I think they had run out of donuts. They said, well, we can give you a really, really cheap used tire that you can swap out and put it where your other already wires exposed tire is at. So just replace that, right? So that way the tire that you have in the trunk can actually, you get rid of the old one that's messed up. You'll have this one that you're gonna mess up at Buc-ee's, but you can swap it out for this tire. For this wheel that has a tire, and you'll be good to go. I said, fine. Arrogant. I should have just told my parents or somebody to fucking let me borrow $100, something, So I leave, get to Buc-ee's, exactly what they said. The damn tire had the wires exposed already. And at this point in time, it was like 7 or 8 p.m. Now, back then I had a really bad habit of driving home really late on Sundays, like 9, 10 p.m. to get to Houston at 1 and then wake up at 6. I was perfectly fine. I had the energy for it. But the problem is the circumstances under which I was doing these or making these decisions were horrible. Like, I couldn't really do that. So, anyway, so I get on the road. I'm like, all right, there's plenty of gas stations. There's a couple of Walmarts. I should be fine. Wrong. Maybe 30 minutes after I left the Buc-ee's, the wheels started trembling. And granted, it was nighttime, so the road wasn't hot. So in my head, I'm trying to find reasoning to like, okay, maybe if I drive 30 miles an hour on the freeway, forget traffic, forget everything, I'm not going to heat up the tire, right? Like logically, you would think that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Wrong. The tire's being worn regardless. Like, it doesn't matter how hot or cold the pavement may be, you're still using it. Especially with the wires exposed, it makes it even more prone to be messed up, essentially. So, oh God. I think I was jamming to Frank Ocean at this point. So I may have been in my feelings.
It was like you went from Kanye to Frank Ocean.
It was 9 p.m. Whatever. And so, no, it was more like 11 by the time I got to this. So it was 11 p.m. and I pulled up to a Walmart in the middle of nowhere. I don't even remember what town it was. It was just like somewhere. There's one Walmart. There's like a Shell, and I don't know what else there was over there, but I said, fuck it, I gotta do what I gotta do. I think at that point I only had like $20 to my name. I had a full tank of gas, essentially, like out of 10 spots, 10 lines, probably like 8. So luckily the car didn't like blow through gas like that. And so I said, okay, swapping it out for this other used tire that is not worn like these other two, I'll be fine. I should make it to Houston with this. So I take out my jack and I take out the handle. And for the life of me, I could not figure out how to lift the damn car. I just couldn't figure it out. I did a YouTube video and
That's
I was
what
like,
I was going to say, dude.
Like, I did that. And I remember I had trouble loading because, again, it was in the middle of the
Yeah.
country. So it was
Yeah.
taking like 20, 30 minutes to load
Yeah.
this damn 10-minute video.
Wow.
And so I waited it out. And keep in mind, it's 11:30 in the middle of the country. There's nobody on the road to help you. So I was truly alone. Smoking cigars, that's why it's silent. So back to the story. So I was like, okay, how much could it actually cost to tow me to Houston? So I was ready to call my mom and my dad, like, hey, let me borrow like $300 so I can get towed.
Shoot, that's super cheap if it was that much.
Yeah, it wasn't even anywhere close. So
Yeah, no.
on top of that, it was overnight. So I called like 3 services. They're all like $500, $600.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, I'm like, oh my God. If I could just swap out this damn tire, I'll be fine. But I couldn't manage to do it. So once again, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. 10, 15 miles an hour. That's it. Have your emergency lights on. You can actually do that. If a trooper pulls you over, you can just tell them why. You should be good to go. So I'll get back on the road. Shaking steering wheel and everything. 11:30, midnight at this point. I think I'm still like 2 hours away from Houston, from my place. That used to be on Washington. With a trembling steering wheel, half a tire.
Wow.
And I can't figure out how to swap out the damn spare.
Wow.
But I'm so determined that I'm thinking, no, 15 miles an hour. Let's do it. Chico's in the back minding his business, falling asleep, this motherfucker. But anyway, so I'm driving, and I actually make the better decision to listen to some trap. So I think I put on 6 foot, 7 foot to like hype myself up and stay awake and like stay optimistic. So, you're like rapping along to it, well, mumbling, because I don't know the lyrics to Lil Wayne's like that.
Yeah.
But 10, 15 miles an hour, taking fucking forever. So I get to like 1 a.m. and shit, I couldn't have. I think I may have barely been passing this. There's a Valero on the right, and there's a Hart's Chicken and some pizza place on the left, on opposing sides, right? But there's an O'Reilly down the road from the Valero. But I'm coming to the decision like, fuck, I can either stay over there overnight, not move, and get somebody over there to help me. But that's still going to leave you with the problem of you're still going to have to now get into the heat in the morning or whatever time you leave. Still might wear the hell out of that really, really used tire. Now think about it. How dependable could that $20 tire really be if it was $20? So, I mean, it may have been dependable, but I was just in my head at that point. So I didn't want to risk it.
Yeah.
I wanted to take a bigger risk and fuck it, I'll get stranded on the freeway than O'Reilly. So it was like choose the lesser of two evils, but I just wanted to get home.
Yeah.
So I continue. Keep pressing on, shaking steering wheel and everything. 3 o'clock hits in the morning. Doesn't matter how hyped the music was, I was fucking sad. Like I was like, damn, I'm gonna be in such. I'm gonna have to get towed. I'm still gonna have to pay for the alignment. I'm still gonna have to pay for the tire. I'm gonna have to pay somebody back. And I'm gonna be late for work. At that point in time, I wasn't necessarily in the good graces of my boss because of arrogance. Call it what it was. So I'm just kind of like, at this point, panicking a little bit. But I didn't want to call anybody at 3 a.m. like, hey, can you come help me out? Because I guess I was trying to be considerate. Mm-hmm. But then, too, realistically, who's going to wake up at 3 a.m. to drive an hour and a half out to help you out? Nobody. I don't think even my parents would do that. They would just say, oh, well, get towed, and that's it.
I would have probably did it, to be honest with you. You could have hit me up. But this was probably back before we were friends.
Yeah. So I pull off at this, I think it has a rooster on it. I think everybody who's traveled has seen it. I think it's called Katie's. It's a gas station called Katie's with a red rooster on it. But I didn't want to pull over there. It could have been any other gas station. The reason why I didn't is because it was poorly lit. So already in my panicking mind, I was like, I could get robbed over here. It looked like Zombieland 101, like these flickering lights. And if you go to it now, it's a really nice gas station, actually. But at that point in time, it was the most horrifying thing I've ever seen. But I have no choice. And so I pull out, and I get out. I'm like, okay, figure it out. Find a way. So I get out, flickering lights and everything, and I try to figure out how to jack up this damn car for about an hour. And I cannot figure it the hell out. At all. Dead quiet, no moving cars, flickering lights, Chico fast asleep. I was fucked. Really. Like, really fucked. Financially, I was taking a beating emotionally. And I just kind of like sat next to my car. The jack was still under the car, but not lifted or anything because I didn't want to lift it and break the main frame or anything. I just sat there, nicely looked up into the sky like, damn, I'm fucked. I don't know what I'm doing. For once one of the very few times in my life, I could not figure out what the next move is going to be. Either way, I was going to be fucked. And so I almost started crying just because that's how desperate I was for any type of help.
Yeah.
3, 4 o'clock in the morning now. No, 4 o'clock. So I'm sitting there dwelling on my sadness that I put myself in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, I should have never fucking left Houston. And so I'm sitting there. Out of nowhere, I hear what sounds like a chainsaw. It's just this loud, like, and out of nowhere. Wait, what were you going to say?
I was going to say this would be such a great story, but I know that it didn't end the way that I have it in my mind because you're still alive.
Yeah, that would have been interesting.
Like Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah,
this would have been such a great horror movie anyway.
All because the guy didn't want to get his car line. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I hear this, and I'm thinking it's on the freeway. So I'm like, nah, I'm not even gonna pay attention to that. Like whatever. They're just two jackasses showing off their engines. Well, guess what? These two jackasses were pulling into the gas station. So they actually pulled into like the other side. So if you really wanted to look for me, you just had to look. But they're minding their business. They don't care what I'm doing. Right. Whatever.
Yeah, good for them. Shit. They don't know if you're crazy.
Agreed. So it's logical to think they're just gonna leave me there. Mm-hmm. But I'm still sitting on the ground, just looking at them. And I'm never going to forget this because it was like one of the highlights of hope in my life.
Wow.
Outside of my girlfriend. And anyway, so one of the guys, they have these huge 4x4 trucks. There's two guys. And one of the guys is like, hey. We'll look up. Hey, what's up, man? Good morning. He's like, do you need some help? I was like, fucking ego wanted to say, no, I got it. I'm good. I said, no, we need help. Shut up and say yes. So I did just that. I said, you know what, man? I actually do. Can I approach you? And he's like, yeah. Well, what's up? I was like, dog, I've been here for 2 hours. And I showed them everything, and they were like, dude, we're surprised you even got this far to begin with. How did you do it? So we talked for 15, 20 minutes. In the end, they happened to be pipeline workers. So they had actual industrial-sized jacks. They had industrial tools and everything. So not only were they able to actually lift my car with ease, but they were actually able to swap everything out in 2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
And so with $15, $20, $25 in my bank account. I was like, hey, can I pay for your gas? I asked that as a formality. I had seen them already pump their gas. But so they're like, no, man, we just got gas. But do you need gas? And I said, yes. Yes, I actually do. Because I don't think I can afford to drive back home. And so they give me like a full tank of gas, man. And,
Wow.
And like, are you gonna be okay? I said, yeah, I think with this, I should be fine. So at least make it home. And so then I remember one of the guys, like one of them had gotten in his truck ready to go. The other one was like, man, you are lucky we got here, huh? I said, yeah, like more than you can actually expect. More than you can possibly think. I am extremely lucky that you two ran into me. And so get back on the road. And the entire time, dude, I'm actually crying. So I'm like, holy hell, this is like one of the few times I've had a huge amount of bail in my life.
Yeah.
Existential crisis galore, like just thinking and everything. And I just couldn't, in my head, I couldn't wrap around like, how the hell did you two just at 3:30 in the morning have to stop at this gas station at this time on this day? It's just, I couldn't say it was luck. Not to veer the conversation into religion, but it was one of the times where I acknowledged the existence of a God.
Dude, I was like, I would have been praying a lot sooner. And I was like, how does this guy not end up resorting to prayer? Like when I'm hearing this story, I'm like, okay, this dude has to be telling me that he ended up breaking down in prayer, because those type of situations lead us to seek solutions, and the only solution when you have no solutions is God.
Now, keep in mind, I actually did think about God. I thought about praying and asking for that. But I remember thinking, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? That's not going to help me. Whatever. It's pride.
Right. Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
So I get home. It's like 5:30, almost 6. I'm like, I don't even go to bed. So I put Chico to bed. I put him in his I give him his food, whatever. He takes a shit. It's just a normal day for him. And I don't really get a chance to process like what just happened. I'm just kind of like back to work mode, you know? That entire day, man, I was fucked up. Like, I've never really experienced prior to that.
Yeah.
That type of humiliation, embarrassment, agony, shame, like acknowledging my recklessness. I've never experienced that. So the whole day I'm just thinking and thinking and thinking. I'm just like, man, this has to be God.
Yeah.
There is no way.
Yeah.
This isn't the lottery. There is no luck here. Whatever, whoever's listening, whether you believe in it or not, that's what I'm going with.
Mm-hmm.
There had to be a God for that to happen. And I actually turned into like a stern believer in the existence of God after that. And then I told Chris, I can say his name. Whatever. I was like, dude, yeah, that was God.
Yeah.
He's like, there's no way that was anything else. Like, I don't care what you want to say about luck or circumstance or convenience that they needed gas. They could have stopped at any other gas before there. Mm-hmm. They stopped at your gas station where you were stranded at the right time, at the right place. Mm-hmm. And so it was one of the times, or actually that was the real beginning of my humbling as a person. Because it doesn't matter how physically able I am able to like do something or how smart I may think I am out of ego or whatever the case may be. Everything was out of my hands. Granted, my own hands put me into that hole. I literally dug myself inch by inch by inch into those 6 feet in my own grave. But those two guys helped me out, man. And if I ever run into them again, I remember one of the guys' faces, the one who I happen to have the dialogue with. But you know, I would say I've come a long way, and I don't say that in an egotistical way.
Yeah, no.
Like I say that, like, man, I'm very happy with who I am at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm very happy that I'm not who I was then.
Yeah.
If I were to meet myself back then, I'd probably want to beat me up.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like, it's just like you snobby little prick. Like, you have nothing in your. What are you thinking? You know, like, what? you're not above anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Your self entitlement to everything is based on nothing, and it made me realize like how many recent insecurities I truly had in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to actively work on like character, you know. Granted, I was still breaking out of certain things. I was still doing drugs at that time or rehabilitating myself on my own. Like a lot of who I am now, I didn't have any guidance. Like other than dating coaches, kind of.
Yeah.
I did it all on my own with the help of friends in regards to like advice, and really I listened to a lot of music. Like a lot of my change, I would say, is dedicated to music.
Yeah.
Just because it forced me to think about who I am and what I want to do.
Yeah.
And it highlighted to me like, dude, you're like extremely insecure, and instead of putting that aside and putting on this facade of this overconfident guy, actually work on yourself, you know? Like, think better, do better, be better. And I loved it. And I love it now. I think I'm still going through that now on a much smaller scale. Like, I make better financial decisions. I make better life decisions, you know? It was great. Life is good, man.
Yeah.
So, afterthoughts?
Man, I mean, really, there's no afterthoughts other than I'm just happy to see that that happened to you and that you grew from it. Because it could have been different.
Much different.
You could have taken a more negative approach and just hated existence and hated life and spiraled down a more negative path and not chose gratitude for the situation and just resorted to escapism through drugs and alcohol, trying to escape this reality. But instead you chose to better yourself, and it's paid off.
Yeah.
Tremendously.
Yeah. I would agree. And I would think, I mean, I'm not financially the best well-off guy, but I'm not struggling. You know, I'm not, my bills are paid. I have plenty of savings. I have a decent car. Like, I have a decent lifestyle, which now I have a lot more appreciation for. Even though I'm always on the move, at least it's with a purpose, you know? And I'm confident through my ability to be reasonable. Yeah. And to think critically, and to actually have a basis to my beliefs and my character. You know? But I'm still insecure now. Like, I don't prioritize my physique as much anymore, and then you can tell. I mean, you can visibly see it. But that doesn't mean I'm negligent per se. I still maintain myself in a way. Yeah. But I'm still learning as a person. I'm still learning about handling people, how to handle certain situations. Yeah. A lot of it is really based on emotion. Yeah. That's something that I'm really learning right now. Like, not emotions about myself. Yeah. It's emotions from others. Like, learning how to recognize certain behaviors. Yeah. And how to adapt to the circumstance from which those behaviors arise from.
And so, like handling situations.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically. That's the biggest thing I think I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I am too.
learning how to understand.
Yeah, no, same. I think everybody is. Like, if you think you got it all figured out, then you're a fool because you're not improving. Like, the people that think they all have it figured out or think they know enough are the ones that know very little and have very little figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, as humans, we're extremely ignorant in general.
It's our nature.
Yeah. I mean, we know very little about life in general. We don't, like, just something as simple as, like, I was talking with a coworker, and I was talking about dogs, for instance, right?
Yeah.
They hear frequencies that we don't hear, right? But there's frequencies that they can't hear that still exist, right? Light. We see only a certain percentage of light.
Mm-hmm.
We see only a certain percentage of colors. Like, what we can see is such a small amount on the spectrum of what actually exists. And what we can hear is on such a small spectrum of what actually exists.
Yeah.
And we're ignorant to the rest of it. Like, we're on this planet in the middle of this universe that is the perfect distance from the sun to not be burned up or to not freeze to death. We're perfectly. If we were closer to the sun, we'd burn up. If we were further apart, we'd freeze. And it's like, we don't have it all figured out. We don't have anything figured out. Hardly anything. We're still trying to understand ourselves, which is why psychology is even a field to go into. Is because us as humans, we're so freaking complex that we don't even understand ourselves, and we have to spend time trying to understand us.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, man, everybody's insecure. Everybody's insecure about something. And if you're not insecure about something, maybe you're a psychopath. And that's also not beneficial.
Yeah, at all. I wouldn't say so. Yeah, I think everyone, all of us, should actively be working on something.
Mm-hmm.
Some type of behavior, characteristic, some side of yourself needs improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And look for it. Don't expect for people to adapt to you, because it's never going to happen. If anything, you're going to push people away.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, learn to improve yourself so that even if the people that you push away are people that are close to you, you will, because of your improvement, attract people that will benefit you and that you can feed from. That's where that rule of 5 comes from. You know, like you're the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with, or 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I really believe in that.
Yeah.
Like, my 5 closest people are all choosing to excel instead of choosing to be stagnant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I would say. But with that in mind, thank you to everybody that listened. I hope you liked my story. Leave a comment, share. Shit, if you had a humbling experience, say it. Leave it in a message. I'd actually like to hear or read to see who else had an experience that like humbled them.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Because I'd be curious to learn from you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being here. And until next time, this is Mario.
And Clint.
We're out.